Hey everyone, hope this finds you well. We've been talking about courage this month. We started talking about courage, and then last time we talked about authenticity and how it requires a lot of courage to show up real as yourself. And so today I want us to think about the fact that we live in this thoroughly edited, completely photoshopped world, right? I mean, everything we see in here leaves us comparing ourselves to a cinema production, complete with supermodels and multi-million-dollar budgets. And even our friends' social media feeds, they look like they were, well-financed productions of some kind. And this is not our life. I mean, this is not our budget for sure, but we are made to believe that it should be our life, right? Whether it's the TV commercials, the magazine photos, or the social media feeds of our friends. And so no wonder our inner gremlins are always telling us, hey, you don't measure up. You're not enough. We're living in this overproduced world, and it makes it difficult to really recognize what's reality and what's production. So in order to kind of silence the message, I'm not enough, we have to start by reality checking what we see and hear. Brene Brown, she has some great suggestions in her book, The Gifts of Imperfection. She suggests we ask ourselves 3 questions. So I'm gonna list these 3 questions to you today. Is what I'm seeing real? Do these images convey real life or fantasy? Do these images reflect healthy living, or do they turn my life, my body, my family, my relationships into objects or commodities? And then finally, who benefits? Who benefits by seeing these images and feeling bad about myself? Who benefits from me seeing these images and feeling bad about myself? Man, those are astounding questions, right? I mean, if we will stop and truly ask ourselves these questions, the answers will be stunningly surprising. So the result of really grappling with these questions will be that we stop the show. It will be show stopping. We will literally stop this production I'm talking about. What happens when we compare ourselves and we start to feel this I'm not enough, it prompts us to look inward, and we begin to look more at ourselves, more at our flaws. So we're looking more and more and more at our own self and our own ways that we don't measure up. So we start down this spiral, right? Where I'm the only one who doesn't, or who can't, or who hasn't, or who isn't, right? And we perpetuate the problem. We kind of feed the beast, if you will. So if we will get outward focused instead of inward focused, if we will start to be intentional about looking outward, we can see a much bigger picture. We can start to see, hey, there's some other people here that are struggling too. Or we're starting to go, oh, you too? This is happening with you too? And so we can shift our focus outward, and that makes us more able to do this reality check that I'm talking about, this reality check of the messages, of the expectations that keep telling us we're not enough. So I'm going to ask you these questions again, because you might want to jot them down. These 3 questions that Brene Brown says, hey, use these questions this week. I'm challenging you to use these questions this week. When you get these messages, I'm not enough, when you're comparing yourself to the role, whatever you're seeing, the production that you're seeing, is what I'm seeing real? Do these images convey real life or fantasy? 2, do these images reflect healthy living, or do they turn my life, my body, my family, my relationships into objects or commodities? And then 3, who benefits by me seeing these images and feeling bad about myself? Who benefits? Those are great questions. So when we allow ourselves to become conditioned by what we're seeing and hearing, to believe that we're not enough, it takes us away from our authentic design. It takes us away from this ability to show up as real. It makes it impossible for us really to show up truly ourselves. So it's hard to admit that this is the world we live in, this high production world that we live in, but that is the world we live in. And the world we want to live in is full of perspective and meaning and purpose. And to get there, to get in that world, we'll have to be intentional about stopping the production. So I challenge you to use those questions. I'm Michele Gooch with Life by Design. You can find me Wednesdays at 1 here live. And then I recognize that all of us want to live our authentic lives, right? We want to live from this place of authenticity. And that means we have to be confident in who we are. And so much of the time, we don't even know for sure who we are because we've been comparing ourselves to all these roles and reels and highlights. And so I just don't think any of us, I just think it's wrong for any of us to have to second guess ourselves. And I've been there, done that, lived that, and know what it feels like to be underneath that, to be paralyzed by it. So I've had the privilege of creating a framework that helps us get from this second guessing to who we really are and where we really want to be. If you're interested in that, you can find me at lifebydesign.guru, www.lifebydesign.guru. I'll see you next Wednesday.